Hi, Steve.
Oh, I guess I better. There I am.
There you am.
Such as I am. Oh my God.
I think every time I get a update to the Zoom app, it changes it back to video off
Yep.
as a default.
Yeah.
It's like, it's crazy.
And that's probably why we're not. Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Hey, that's the same thing I did when my picture came on. Maybe that's the thing you do.
You're busy.
I hate Zoom.
Yes, but think of the logistics of trying to get us all together in one place physically.
It's a
Now,
love-hate relationship, Steve.
yes.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Let's knock on my plywood desk that in 2022, we actually all feel safe getting back together again. And then we'll see how many people really hate it or love it because they can just walk to their office and come to a meeting.
Well, I have no frame of reference since I've been around on the board. I've never been present at a physical meeting. So it's all been Zoom as far as I'm concerned, So for me, it'll be a real novelty to meet all you folks in person. I think I've met Rick once years ago in person at a Kenilworth event, but I don't think I've met anybody else.
I think we managed to get 2 board meetings in February and March of 20 before we all agreed it's time to go virtual.
Yeah, I've never been in a face-to-face meeting with anybody either, so.
Okay, good. I'm glad. We'll be the newbies.
We'll have a celebration when we can go face to face. No controversial topics. Just maybe a victory laugh for how hard we worked during the pandemic and someplace where we could have beverages.
Yeah, I was going to say, will wine be served? My attendance at my Kenilworth meetings went up when we went back to physical and I served wine. Everybody shows up now.
I'll take that as good guidance.
Oh, goodness. You guys hanging around for Thanksgiving, family coming to you, or are you all on planes, trains, and automobiles in the next couple of days?
We're staying put and no families either. So we're having a Friendsgiving. We have 3 couples who are all combining to get together for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
We had to reboot very quickly because we found out that our plans to Atlanta, our family changed plans from a very intimate gathering to my nephew and niece having parties every night with who knows who and who knows what and who knows where they were going to be. And we just didn't feel good about it. So
Susan,
we're home and scrambling to pull together a Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Susan, that's what happened to the 2 other couples. We were always going to have one just here. Nora's my wife's cousins are all on the West Coast, and I really only have one person left in my family, and he's my brother, and he doesn't really travel. So it was just going to be us. But the other 2 folks who are going to have Thanksgiving with family encountered the same thing you did. Very extended family and friends, and no assurances that everybody was vaccinated. And so both of them bowed out. And that's when we discovered that, oh, well, why don't all the 3 of us get together? So that's what we're going to do.
That's great. Yeah, my nephew, he's vaccinated. He's 27, but he doesn't believe in masks.
Oh.
He's already had COVID once. He doesn't believe in masks. He doesn't really check, who's vaccinated, who's not. And anyway, it's complicated these days.
Sure is.
Hey, Mr. Tom Fran, I muted you again already because just your normal body movements around.
A preemptive strike, huh?
I wield power. I wield Zoom power, so watch out. Hopefully you're going to have some family gathering in your daughter can fix your microphone again. We'll figure out something between the middle of December and the next meeting to get you back to where we had you for a while. I think you probably got some software upgrade that screwed you up, just like the software upgrades that make everybody turn their video back on. It's not your fault. All right, we are, let me get my tally here so I don't make any mistakes. All right, I've got a Tom Ferran. Yes. I got Steve Joyner. Yes. There'll be a new face here because we have a new board member. So rather than
Oh, baptism of fire.
oh yeah, I honestly I gave her all the opportunity in the world to say, oh man, I don't want to come to this one as the very first one I'm coming to, but she is showing heart, soul, guts, all those good things. So just stand by. I won't make her go through it 3 times for the people who come on late.
Mhm.
I'm here. Okay, we are just 2 people short. I'm going to give it just a couple more minutes. We're just missing Joel and Sharon. And then we'll have everybody who could attend it. We had 4 directors who could not attend. They have all cast votes in advance. And when we get rolling on this, I'll share that with you guys.
Okay. I think I've seen 2 of those, but I don't think I saw 4.
There's Sharon. I'm gonna wait 1 more minute for Joel. Oh, and then I'm gonna wait another minute for Sharon to reappear. Just 1 wrong click of the button and away you go. Everybody. Okay. Sharon, you had to turn your video. Awesome, awesome. Okay. First, an unexpected agenda item. Let me introduce Tracy Brown, our latest director from Albemarle Park. Tracy, would you just say a few introductory words to let everybody know who you are?
Who am I? I actually, this is kind of strange, but just, I actually live in Sunset Grove Park, but I live in the Plunk School. So I'm like on the edge of Albemarle Park and Sunset Park. So I belong to both neighborhood associations because I'm in the middle, and I volunteered to be on the board of Albemarle because I'm interested in the neighborhood and the historic aspect of it. And I'm a realtor also. So that's why I was interested in learning more about the historic neighborhood, because it's not something realtors have to disclose. We're supposed to disclose, but they don't disclose it. So that I was curious about that. That's how it led me to Albemarle. And then Will Hornaday asked me if I would do this, and I'm interested. I was already talking about this yesterday, and then he told me about this meeting. So I said, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be here.
So welcome,
Thank you.
everybody.
Yeah, welcome.
So let me share my screen. I've got a few things that I want to sort of cover to see if we can do this like tip top. Perfect. Come on. You guys see something that says opening comments?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. So, first of all, thank you everybody for making time. You know, we put this together in record time and people had to rearrange things, and I really appreciate it. If we weren't under time pressure because of the upcoming city council vote, we would have probably taken a slower path at this, but so thank you. This is not going to end up being unanimous. I already have 2 votes on each side of the coin. And that's something that's been pretty unusual for us. We've either had massive ascension or a couple of abstaining or something like that. So this one has the potential to be a little bit more lively. So because of that, I want to follow the Roberts rules a little tighter than you know me to do. You know, so here's kind of how this is going to go. I'm going to open with seeking a motion from the group to approve the information that's been provided to all of you, i.e. our position. If I get that motion, then I'm going to open the conversation up. So people can make statements pro and con, they can offer their opinions and all that sort of thing. And then when the conversation has come to an end, everybody said what they need to say, then I'll look for a second and we'll take a vote. And if at that point we approve the position, then that's fundamentally the end of the meeting. If we don't approve the position, then maybe we can get a counter motion for some modification or we're back to the drawing board. I'm not sure where that'll be, but that's the basic plan. Because there is some emotion around this, I would just ask that everyone treat each other with respect. And you know, diversity of opinion and diversity of thought is paramount in being successful in an organization like this. So just when you don't agree with someone, give them their time to make their point and you know, treat them with respect. We've always done a pretty good job of people raising their hands either by using the little widget on the bottom of your screen or by waving your hands. I will try to get to people in order, but please let's not interrupt somebody in progress so that they can make their points and you can hear what they have to say. I will only interrupt if I feel like someone is just, they've made their point and they're just continuing and we are running out of time and I feel like people's eyes are glossing over. Don't take that personally. You need a mediator in this kind of thing, someone who's trying to keep us going. If I do interrupt you, doesn't mean I agree or disagree. It just means, you know, maybe we need to give the floor to somebody else so that we can continue. If you agree with the content of the proposal, by all means, share your support. I would just ask that we don't make 15-minute speeches in support of it so that we're at this for 3 hours. You know, let's see where we stand with good positive content and that sort of thing. Let's try to avoid fine-tuning the content. You know, the team worked really hard to put this together and to put their points together, and there was a lot of feedback. And once we have a position and a set of points, we still have an action plan that has to go with this. Letters have to be written, media interviews, if appropriate, have to be had. So there are subsequent opportunities to take okay language and turn it into tip-top language for the final stuff we're sending out. Because if we try to fine tune this live with 14 people on the phone, we'll be at it forever and it almost becomes impossible to figure it out after the fact. I'm going to record that, which reminds me I need to do that. Okay. And I'll post the video on YouTube tomorrow because it takes a bit of manipulation to do that. And I'll encourage any of the people who could not attend to watch it and listen to the debate so so that they have a chance to revise their vote if you think that's appropriate. Okay, everybody good? All right. So you've all had the content in advance. So rather than take up your screen with a document, I'm going to stop sharing, which means you all pop back up on the screen. And like I just promised, I'm seeking a motion to approve the position as delivered by the committee. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the proposal as submitted by the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Second it.
Seconds are going to come after debate.
Okay.
Okay, so now it's an open forum for feedback. What we have right now in terms of votes are from people who couldn't make here. Debbie Applewhite's traveling, couldn't make it. She votes in favor of the position. Byron Ballard is traveling. She votes against the position. Sophie Molinex is working. She votes against the position. And Dan Rogers is also working, and he votes for. So of the 16 potential votes, we're 2 and 2 right now. So Sharon's hands up. Sharon, you have the floor.
I am for this, but I'd like to make a statement for the for Byron that responded, and I read her letter. And I'd like to say that I think they don't know that there's no drop-ins. And that they missed the conversation that we had because they talked about the Code Purple issue. And generally the Code Purple issue, from what I understand, is a drop-in where you just drop in. And I have a feeling that she thinks that this is available to anybody that walks in off the street. So I would say if we're going to make not to get in the weeds, to revamp the letter, or to make it clear to the people that this is not a drop-in center. And I think they misunderstood that.
Okay, good refinement. Thanks. Who wants to go next? Wow, this group has never been this quiet. Joel, you'll have to unmute and then you have the floor.
So you're saying that the proposed low barrier shelter is not a drop-in place? Then how do they, who decides? I didn't see that, or I mean, I looked over this stuff, but I'm sorry, I didn't
not in
see
there.
where it says how that's decided. Is there a committee, or is it up to the people that are running the shelter? I mean, how does that work?
Anybody from the committee wish to take that? Go ahead, Barbara, and then Helen.
From what we've been told by the city of Asheville, and also from what we've gleaned from the attorneys representing River Ridge and so forth, Joel, the process will be that, as we understand it right now, these folks will be interviewed by the nonprofit or whoever is running this, and depending on their needs and so forth, then they will be admitted. It will not be a drop-in, like, I've just wandered up to the door and I need help. Can I stay? The answer is no. For those who do not meet the criteria, that what loosely they call criteria, with no ID or anything else, they will be asked to leave and will be just turned loose in the Oakwood community.
Ellen, you wish to add?
The police may also bring people in there. So if they pick somebody up in a bad situation, they can check to see that there's a space available and they can bring people in, but they have to be escorted in.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, Alan. Got to unmute first, Alan.
When I first became aware of the proposal and the project, I thought that this was going to be more of a residential shelter rather than operating like Rescue Mission, which I work with. closely. And individuals are basically only staying there overnight and set out in the morning then on the streets. But I thought for a short period of time, 60, 90 days, whatever they set, people would reside in their rooms during that period of time. But looking at the proposal, it looks like they have to leave each day. Is that not correct? I'm asking the
They
committee.
don't have to leave every day. They're allowed to stay up. They can leave, but they're allowed to stay up to 90 days. So that's the maximum amount of time they can stay there, but they could leave if they wanted to. If a drug overdose was taken there and slept off, was fine, they could leave the next day if they wanted to, but they're allowed to stay there longer if they want to resolve their issues. And they
Okay.
go through a transition of, being in a very bad situation, and then they can, if they choose. Most people, the problem is getting a person to decide that they want to fix their problem. Then they will work to help them with their ID and the other things to get them into permanent housing.
Where I came up with that was point number 10, and that says they have to pack up their possessions and leave every day and return in the evenings.
Susan?
I think what you're possibly reading are the things that are typical of a typical shelter and not a low barrier shelter. These are the issues that are the barriers to people being able to enter a shelter. And the low barrier shelter removes those issues so that they can work on transition to permanent housing over that 90-day period or so.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Two other things. I did read through the RFP, which is quite lengthy. It's 17 pages long. And one point that concerned me was regarding weapons. And it says that weapons will be left at the entry point and they can pick them up when they leave. It doesn't talk about any kind of screening for weapons. And I know at Rescue Mission, they have to go through an electronic barrier, and they're also wand for weapons. And a lot of folks on the street that I've seen at Rescue Mission do carry knives and other kinds of weapons. So I was concerned about that in the RFP. And the other point in the RFP that I wanted to raise was the letters that the individual organizations are required to submit, and I identified 3 kinds of letters. But generally, when I've seen RFPs in the past, organizations or individuals have to submit contacts or organizations that they've worked with, names and addresses and phone numbers, and then the city in this case would be contacting those organizations, not getting just letters that are submitted on their behalf. I mean, you can pick and choose. I'd like to be able to question the organizations that they've worked with in the past to see what their success rate is. That's 2 comments I had to make.
Okay, thank you. Other comments, other questions? So far, I'm thrilled that people have done their homework and seem to have a pretty good understanding of what's here. Mr. Joyner, sir.
I have a question. I thought the RFP was out there, but it had already been awarded to Sunrise. Am I incorrect?
No, they told us that they were going to get it, but it hasn't actually officially been awarded yet.
And do we know the competing entity?
ABCCM, but I think the word on the street, the rumor, is they withdrew because they were not happy with having no rules, because they created rules because of the issues that were experienced taking anybody in, because you can have a violent person, you can have a sex offender, you can have a this, you can have a that. So then you end up with a lot of problems. So they created the rules and the IDs and all those things in order to run the mission that they choose to run. And they're also Christian based, and some people don't like Christian based things. So, these were all the so-called barriers that this shelter would do it. But there would also be problems because you worst case scenario, you could put a person in a room and they're drunk or they're on drugs or whatever, and they smuggle a weapon in, and the difficulty of managing that situation, that they don't walk down the hallway or bash into another person's room, or how do you keep them secure within the facility? It would be very difficult to run it.
So Steve, what the city also told us when we had a meeting with Emily Ball, who's the homeless coordinator, she said that there were two agencies that had applied, but we wouldn't be able to be given their names or any information about them until after the contract was awarded. And the contract is going to be going up for a vote the same day as the purchase of this on December 14th. So we have no idea about what is in the paperwork that they submitted. We have no idea. We have ideas about who they are, but we don't have any affirmation about who they are. And we won't get any of that until after this goes through.
I guess my whole point in bringing up that question was whether or not, we're trying to take issue with the RFP. I think that's separate and apart from what we're trying to do here.
So let me make a comment, because I've been in on a lot of this. The city was very unclear on whether they would announce who their pick is for the contract before the documents are due for the December 14th city council meeting. They were wishy-washy on that. So Susan can be right, and I can say maybe they're going to tell us next Monday, and neither of us know what that is, because they were in negotiations, and as I understand it, the procurement laws prohibit them from sharing what's going on till negotiations are complete and they have a potential winner. And so I think even the notion of awarding, they have a pick, but that pick has to be approved by city council. And I think Alan's comments about the RFP, we're driving at, the RFP has some gaps or some problems in it. And if we had a reasonable period of time to see the responses from the two candidate organizations and pick holes at them, then we would be in a much better position to make an informed opinion about their capabilities to actually perform the duties that were being assigned to them. And I think that's one of the major problems that the committee has, is since we can't get a commitment to when they're going to name their favored person and when that documentation is going to be produced, it just feels like there'll be a rush from Friday at 5 o'clock on the 10th of December until 5 p.m. on the 14th to try to figure out who's actually doing what to whom there. Did you have something more to add, Tracy? I saw your hand go up.
I was just saying the uncertainty that you're all expressing I feel like is putting this position, is making this position stronger. That everyone feels uncertain about who's going to do it, the ability of the city to hire the right people, how the RFP is worded. Is it going to suss out the right people? There's just so many open ends in this. It doesn't feel well thought out. So I think your uncertainty is sort of behind the committee's position to deny the project.
Yep. Anybody else? So okay, Joel, you go ahead, then I'll go.
Oh, I was gonna vote. Should I not vote?
No, I'll be asking for a second in a minute. I asked, I have not participated in everything. This committee has done a heck of a job all by themselves, but since it got kind of controversial, I sat in on the meeting, whatever day that was, seems like it was forever ago. I asked if it was possible that none of the applicants would prove to be qualified. And I got a straight answer that they already know that one of the applicants is qualified.
Hmm.
Even though since that applicant is going around telling people that they're going to be awarded it, and the committee has done some research on how long that applicant has been around and what actual tasks they performed, it makes me feel like somebody's putting pressure on the homeless team to pick somebody so that we're doing something
Mhm.
rather than doing something that has a lasting, known, possible, positive outcome. It's the old money's in our hands, we better spend it, and then we can put on our reelection resume that we did something. That was pretty editorial on my behalf, but it's how I feel. Steve.
Is this going before the council with a staff recommendation?
I assume it will.
But has there been one yet?
Oh,
So, but we assume that there will be a staff recommendation that will recommend to the council that they move forward on this project.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, what will happen if we take a position that says we think this is a bad idea? If anything, what do we get out of that? And maybe that's a philosophical issue or question, but what do we gain by our opposition? Or what does the neighborhoods gain? Or what does Asheville gain? I'm trying to get to the end result here of
okay.
us saying yay or nay on whether or not this particular project is a good idea.
So Barbara's hand shot up, so she may go first.
Not only do they not have an idea of the ability of who we think might be the persons or nonprofit to run it, but the nonprofit that they're say they're going to get the contract, we haven't seen that or haven't had any affirmation of that. But not only that, but they have no idea how they're going to fund it either. We've asked and asked and asked and been asking since August. There has been absolutely, even Deborah Campbell finally in a meeting 2 meetings ago finally said, well, we can apply for federal funds. Well, heck, I can apply for federal funds, but it don't mean I'm gonna get them. And the other thing is the complete and total group that went to the county commissioners. We filled 1 room plus an ante room, and we were respectful. There was not one person spoke in favor of it. The commissioners did not fund it. Whether they will come back with another round of funding, and it's up for whoever you happen to hear in the news media. On TV, Brownie said that they would be doing possibly some funding in January, but in the news media and his interviews with the Citizen Times said that would not be done until May. The city's under the gun for the contract, and what we get out of this is I have witnessed and seen the filth, the needles, and you got 400 kids that stay over there every day after school care, and they pick up needles over there 3 times a day in the area that those children go out to have some outside activities. So what we gain out of this is I would not think that any sensible person, and there will only be 20 people if this goes through. They only have room for 20 more people. So I think
Okay, Barbara.
Oh, well, I was just going to wind it up. So that is my take on why we have to take a stand.
So I don't think that was actually Steve's question.
Oh.
I think his question was, what will we accomplish by taking a position? You know, will we be able to influence? Will we be able to make a change? Do we believe that this is good for CAN, that, you know, taking this position is healthy for our organization? I really think that was his question, and I saw
it was.
Susan's hand go up, so I'm gonna let her respond first.
So Stephen, I think that I do believe that CAN should take a position, and I think the benefit is that that this is a very, in my opinion, a very bad decision, and that as a result of that, we have, if we take a position, we can then create a writing campaign to, you know, to encourage all the neighborhoods to take a similar position and hopefully stop this project. Right now, it's late. I don't know whether or not we're going to be able to do that, but I think that it's a bad enough project, and it's so ill-conceived, and it will just have the outcomes are going to, the impact of this project is going to continue long after they purchase it. That's going to be negative, right? Without them knowing how they're going to fund it, and then becoming landlords and running a shelter when they don't know how to do that with an operator who may not know how to do it. And so it's just kicking it down the road where it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And if we take a stand now, maybe we can stop it, and maybe we can get them to focus on something that's going to be more positive to address the homeless issue that is not this.
Helen.
I don't believe that whatever we vote will make a significant difference to the process, because there's only one council person that is actually against this, which is Gwen Whistler. The rest are very, very positive for us. So for us to persuade the balance, it'll be very, very difficult. We can make a statement. It'll probably make us look like a crowd of rich NIMBYs, you know, that don't have this problem. But overall, I do think it's worth our effort doing it, because when it's very unlikely this project will succeed, and the property will probably end up being converted to like the Days Inn project, you know, into permanent sort of long-term housing. But they will have wasted a significant amount of funds in the interim, and caused a lot of damage to the surrounding areas. So I think it's worth us taking a position. Do I personally think it's going to make any difference? I very much doubt it. We can make a lot of noise. We can do what we can do, but there are definitely some council members like Kim Roney who are going to 100% vote for it no matter what we say. So it's going to be, and there's not enough time to really put together a good campaign. So
Alan.
it's not a good argument, but
Go ahead, Alan.
Oh, okay. First of all, want to say that the concept is good. I don't think it's inappropriate to think in terms of providing shelter for the homeless in this community. However, the way it's being proposed, it has not been well thought out, and they haven't shown any way of sustaining the project beyond the initial grant that they're going to receive. They talk about applying for other grants, but as you know, sometimes you're successful and other times you may not be. I think it's appropriate for CAN to answer Steve's question, for CAN to take a position, because we are the only organization in the community, in the city, that represents neighborhoods across the city of all socioeconomic backgrounds. And we're not a bunch of NIMBYs, and council needs to understand that. And I think we should be on record of saying we're opposed to it and providing the reasons why we are opposed. Because if we don't do that, who else is going to represent the residents of this community and make a statement as broad as we can? That's all I'd say.
Kathy, then Joel, then Barbara.
Just to clarify that the city has hired a consultant to help them with the ongoing funding, and they were supposed to release a report yesterday. So just that may come up later on, but anyway.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Joel?
So my question is, what are what are the neighborhoods that are going to be most impacted by that think? Have we, this may have already been answered, but is there consensus among them or amongst them?
So I'm going to turn that answer over to Barbara, because I know she has been at meetings that some of the rest of us have not been at. I wouldn't be, since I'm going to be recorded doing this, and I promised Debbie Applewhite that I would represent her passion in this. Beverly Hills feels like they are on the fringe of this, and they are deeply opposed to it for safety and cleanliness reasons, etc. So
Well, let me-
Barbara can probably cover more of that than I could.
Well, then I sort of echo Alan's thoughts. Sorry, I'm getting distracted here. And I think, like, for me at least, I feel like I should be guided most by the neighborhoods that are most directly impacted. That's the way I would want it to be if it was happening beside myself. So I sort of feel like it's rushed. I feel like
It's rushed.
if we go against it, we're going to be, it's going to be bad as far as our image as an organization and stuff. But on the other hand, that's what we exist to do, is advocate on behalf of neighborhoods. So I sort of support what the neighborhoods think and think the process should be slowed down. And so ultimately I'm for the whatever the statement or stance. So that's
Barbara,
it.
could you make just a short statement about
I'll be quick.
Oakley and that kind of thing?
Oakley is very adamantly against it. River Ridge Shopping Center has a group of attorneys. The apartments are adamantly against it. The school is against it, obviously, because they're right across the street. Hawk Creek has already sent 2 letters, one to the commissioners, one to the city. We're adamantly against it. And so in our remarks that Debbie and I made to the Buncombe County Commissioners on behalf of CAN and also Hawk Creek for me, and Beverly Hills had a tribe of people at that meeting that spoke out against it, that are never involved in anything. We made it quite clear that it's not a case of NIMBYism, and it isn't. It's just that it's an ill-conceived, excuse my French, high-faced plan adventure spending that much money. That's all I have to say.
Richly in the Oakley neighborhood is for it, just for the record.
There's a petition on next door. The Oakley residents were there at the Buncombe County Commissioner speaking out against it, and he's very much in the minority in Oakley.
I know.
So just hang on a second, Steve. I'd just
Okay.
kind of like to throw my 2 cents in. Here's something that I would ask every director to think of as they prepare for their vote. Tough situations, especially highly politicized ones, ultimately in this era lead to which tribe are you with, and that sort of thing. So I think you should ask yourself, would you carry this position to your community? Would you take it and say, as your representative on the board of directors of CAN, I voted this way for this position for this reason, and this is what I would like from your community. I know that there's been this can be one of those things where you have personal opinions and then you got to kind of check in with your community and all that sort of thing, because if we are going to craft a response, this is the first step towards crafting a response, we'll want help as we always do when we craft a response. Now, some neighborhoods are already out in front of it, you know, Hawk Creek has sent a couple of letters, Beverly Hills, a couple of letters. But that proves to me that, you know, your vote is well considered, and you're at least willing to share your thinking with your community on why you voted the way you voted. I saw Sharon's hand come up, and then Kathy, and then Steve.
Thanks, Rick. My community is concerned about other things, and they're neutral on this. I brought it up and I discussed it with them, and basically the people that have been attending our Zoom meetings are not all that concerned about it. It's not in our neighborhood, but they've got some real concerns that are in our neighborhood that are pushing them more and are creating more conversation. I am taking my personal opinion on this because I've been involved in this in another city, having had a sober house and worked in the state I came from in and opening sober houses, and doing this because I am 34 years in recovery that I've shared with everybody. And I am all for the fact that we need to have something like this, but coming from a state that was, or a city much more organized than this city, there's a better way of doing this. There's better models to use. And so I'm bringing my own opinion on this because my community is neutral on it.
Okay, great, thanks. Kathy, Helen, and Steve, in that order.
Just briefly, yeah, I definitely have mixed feelings, but I did talk with our association president, and her take was, you know, if we wouldn't want it in our neighborhood, we shouldn't want it, you know,
In anyone's neighborhood.
in anybody's neighborhood. And that is like everyone else has said, there's some holes and things that haven't been considered, in addition to lack of participation by the communities and the fast turnaround.
Okay, Helen?
My neighborhood would take the similar position to Kathy's, except for one major reason. If those people are no longer in that shelter, they were the same people that were in Aston Park that was in our community. And the reason that they are in there is because we made such a big fuss in April and they were moved there. So they would probably say, yeah, we want them there because they're not here. So I don't know how I would vote on that because, yeah, it's not in our neighborhood and now we're happy.
Steve?
I believe Ken needs to take a position. I was hoping no one realized that I was trying to get us out of the business of making a decision. What my concern is that why must we either be for or against? Isn't there a nuanced middle ground that we can object to certain elements, ask for some corrective behavior, perhaps most importantly, point out that this is a rush to judgment that doesn't necessarily have to happen. I have another question related to that. If the council votes this down, what happens to this project? Does it fall apart completely?
So I'm going to let Susan and Joel address whichever part of that they raise their hands for. And I think I'm going to say that we don't know what will happen if it fails as currently documented. We can make recommendations, and there is actually a recommendation in the document that says that they should run a pilot that to prove that they know what they're doing. So Susan, then Joel, please.
We have to be really careful that we're not, that people don't think that we are taking a position against finding homeless homeless solutions that this could very well, under better circumstances, provide. But we are taking a position that the way that it's being rolled out and the way it's being rushed and all the things that are not planned and all the holes in this whole planning are very concerning because they are not addressing the issue. And I think that it's really going to be very tricky, because if our neighborhoods are thinking that we're asking them to take a position about a shelter in our neighborhood, that's a very different conversation than we want to address the homelessness issue in Asheville in a holistic way so that it has a chance of success and the money is being well spent. And so I just want us to make that distinction and not be seen that we are not in favor of pursuing viable homeless initiatives.
Yep. So,
So I think my neighborhood is for a well-considered, well thought out, well-planned, low barrier shelter. I think there wouldn't want it in our neighborhood, at least as it stands now. So, but in general, I think, from talking to people, they're for something like this, but I think they would agree that if it's rushed, it's a bad idea. So, my neighborhood rarely has consensus about anything generally. So it's kind of, but I think in general, so I think it's pretty safe to say that we're for this in concept, but in execution, it needs to be better planned and better thought out. So slow it down.
okay. Any other thoughts? Good, great debate. It's a tough one, right? You undo this and people go back to camping in people's backyards, that's a bad thing. You approve it and it's a total disaster and people get hurt and nothing gets improved, it's also a bad thing. So I get that it's hard. So one more chance for more feedback. Steve?
Well, following up on a couple of things were just said, if we take a position that says we're against this and basically saying we're against this particular execution, we think it's a great concept, that's going to be an important story to get out there. The spin will be real important because I think it's going to come across that Can's against this. It's polar. It's either yes or no. That's why I'm advocating a position wherein we effectively get across our objections to the concept and really ask for more time to get it done right. Again, do we know that there's any particular urgency to getting this done on December the 14th? Why can't our first position be, we think this is insufficiently resourced and communicated to the communities, and that we have a series of objections or unanswered questions? We never did get those questions answered that we asked the staff of, right? Did they ever answer all those questions the committee put together?
No, because we're still stuck in this limbo where they're negotiating with the potential provider, and until they complete the negotiations with the provider, they can't provide that provider's response, and we can't challenge that provider's response. Remember,
I don't think all our questions would have been directed to who the provider was going to be. Some of those questions, I think, directly went to the city's position on this going forward. But anyway.
Yeah, but so one thing for everybody to understand, the team put a position together for your consumption. That's different than the letter that's going to go to the mayor. Okay. So the committee laid out the facts as they understood it, the questions that are not sufficiently answered, and the fact that there's no commitment for any period of time to consume the next level of information and carry that on. So,
Well, I think
so everybody needs to recognize that if we proceed and vote and support the position, we're gonna need to write this up and get it very carefully reviewed so that it represents the tone that the committee tried to put forward. You know, it's one thing to give you guys bullet points and a position, and it's another to write a letter to the city staff, to the press and all that kind of thing. So the work doesn't stop at the end of this vote. People who have writing skills are going to be needing to look over a draft of a letter, you know, probably in the first week of December or sooner. So that opportunity will still exist. And we may have to pull another meeting like this together to get that letter approved, because it could come across very negatively, and people are going to spin it negatively no matter what we put in the letter. Let's just face that fact. The proponents will try to blame the opponents. That's just how it seems to work in today's society. Susan.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to why the rush, and my understanding, and Helen, you back me up, and Barbara and Kathy, but my understanding is that they have to purchase this property, that purchase time is, you know, has been extended. It was supposed to be back in September, right? And it's supposed to happen right after this vote. Am I correct? Is that the reason for the rush?
The 15th.
The contract for purchasing runs out on 15th. If they don't purchase it then it's open to anybody to purchase it, is why there is this big push.
But I don't think
And
anyone's
that was from
lining up.
Deborah Campbell and Kathy Ball.
Go ahead, Helen.
I don't think anyone's lining up to buy the property.
I was going to say,
Right.
and contracts can be extended.
Right. And they can, okay, I'm raising my hand and recognizing myself. And they can continue to pay Sunrise the way they do today for the people who are there today. You know, that contract also apparently runs out, but given, if any of the rumors we've heard true about how much money is being pumped into the Sunrise organization, I think they will be happy to take that money ad infinitum until there is a different structure and a different contract and all that kind of stuff. So.
And Mr. Patel, the owner, will be happy to take full fee without having to operate it as a hotel.
There you go. Okay, one last chance. I think we're close to having had enough thinking and debating. Anybody want one more thing? And I got no hands up. Can I get a second to accept the proposal as written by the committee? Alan? I saw your lips and I'm a lip reader, so I can pretty sure you said I second.
I second it.
Okay, I'm gonna roll call this for everybody who's here. And so when I get to your name, please make sure you're off mute so we have it for the record. Joel, yes.
Yes.
If I could only type. Alan? Yay or nay?
I support the position.
Tom, you're gonna have to unmute. Yay or nay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Steve,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Helen,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Rick. Yes. Okay, so we end up with, let's see, can I do this math quick? We have,
14 yeses and 2 nos.
and one not voted. So it's actually 13 yeses, 2
13.
noes, and 1 not voted. I never got feedback from Joe, who's traveling with Byron. So the motion passes. The committee needs to get back together as soon as they can stand it. And start to, draft the letter to city staff, draft the letter to Buncombe County, draft the letter to city council. And maybe seek other people who write better than myself to tune up those letters, and I'd be looking for volunteers because I know there are some very strong proponents of this thing. Because we need to get the message out. And we need to, we're probably going to need to do some press would be my guess, because that's the only way to get more spin on it, and maybe some social media stuff. And I know that's all above most people's heads. So stand by for us to solicit your help to get this done, because it's funny enough, 3 weeks and 5 minutes from right now is when that city council meeting is going to start. So thank you, everybody. I will move this video up to YouTube tomorrow when I can dig up the instructions on how to do that again. And I will blast it off to everybody, and I'll give the folks who were not present the opportunity to look it over and see if they have any alternate opinion. I appreciate the professionalism and the good give and take. It was a great debate, and I hope I wasn't too much of a firm-fisted moderator for you guys. Seems like we got their thoughts in. So I appreciate it. All of you have a great Thanksgiving. I'll be in town until Saturday, and then I'm out of here until the 12th.
Thank you so much, and welcome, Tracy. What a meeting to be your first one. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
We'll have some lighter content in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, and I'm Rick, I'm happy to try to write. I've been a writer for years, so I'm happy to help with the wordsmithing.
Yeah, so to talk to
am I.
Helen and Kathy, I'm sure they're going to love the help.
Okay.
Okay, bye, you guys.
So long.
Have a
Happy
wonderful
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.